Hi, welcome back to Alison Alexander's art videos. Today we're going to be painting a robin. You can do any bird you like. So first of all, if you go to the garden, take some photographs of some birds or download some pictures off the internet. So we're going to pencil draw the bird and then we're going to paint it using watercolour. And you can use any paints that you've got at home. You're just going to need a small brush and some water. So first of all, pop outside and take a photograph of a bird that you want to paint. The painting that I did taken from that photograph. Once you've got your photograph, you need to do an outline drawing of your bird. Tiny little lines creating the outline of each shape. So around the head, down the body, and then I sectioned off the areas which I wanted to paint orange and the ones I wanted to paint brown. So just a faint outline. If you're not very good at drawing, then you could print a picture off from the internet, just an outline of a bird, and you could trace it. Once you've done that, put all the different colours you need in the palette ready with some water, so you can just use them when you want them. And the first thing I'm going to do is paint around the eye with the orange. And the orange is made there from a little bit of red and a little bit of orange. And then in some patches I've started to add yellow so that you get a paler shade. So you need to look at the colour and think, oh, there's lots of different shades. I've added a little bit of yellow to this one to give a different shade, and that helps the body to have some shape in your picture. I've added some darker areas and that gives a little bit of shadow, and that again makes it look a little bit more 3D. After that, I'm moving on to the brown. I'm going to do a base coat of a pale brown colour, but I'm making sure that the two colours don't touch, because with watercolour, if the two colours do touch at this point, the two colours will bleed into each other. So leave yourself a little gap, and once the orange is dry, you can fill that gap up. Or better still, you could wait until the orange is dried and then start painting. For the underneath tummy of the robin, I've done a pale grey colour, so I've mixed white and grey and a little bit of brown together to make a pale colour. And then once that's happened, you can start filling in the gaps once the painting started to dry. That area is dried off properly, you can start adding more detail. So a slightly darker brown, starting to put the shape of the feathers in and filling in the gaps around the eye. So just fill it in right around the tummy, and once the orange is dry, you'll find those colours don't bleed. If you go over the edge a little bit, just get yourself a piece of kitchen roll and give it a little dab and it'll lift the colour off. Just like the orange of the breast of the bird, for the bottom of the tummy, I've got different shades of grey. Add a little bit darker under the wings to make it look more 3D and more like feathers. And then I'm going back in with a darker orange. Again, so it goes on in layers. Wait for one layer to dry and then add another layer in on top, and you'll add a more 3D effect to the bird. For the legs, I've mixed a little bit of the brown from the wing of the bird with the orange to give a sort of pinky colour, and just a faint line to give the look of the legs and then into the feet. And if you want to make the legs look more 3D, you need to add a little bit of a shadow, maybe to the back of the leg and underneath the bird, so it gives a rounded look. And once the tummy is dry, I'm going back over with tiny little lines with a slightly darker shade of grey to give a feathered look, and then going back into the wings to make it look like feathers on the wing using a darker shade of brown again. Everything's dry. I've got some black. Just tip your end of your brush into the black with a little bit of water, not too much water, because you've got to make sure the lines are very accurate. So come in very slowly along the edge of the beak from the front to the inside the bird, and then round for the eye. When you do the eye, leave a little gap in the middle of white to make it look like the light's shining on the bird's eye. If you manage to fill it in, don't worry. Once that black is dry, you can go back in with some white acrylic paint and put a little white dot after, like I'm going to do. Underneath the bird, I've wet the paper first, and then I'm dropping colours of the brown and the dark brown into that, and it just spreads out across. A little bit of a shadow underneath the bird, and then last of all, a tiny little white dot on the eye and along the beak. Now you might need to use acrylic for that to make it stand out, and then after that you need to sign it. And there we are, that's your finished painting of your bird. So I hope you're really pleased with your painting. Have another go this week at maybe doing different types of birds, bigger birds, small birds, and different colours. And maybe if you've got different medium, you can do some watercolour and some poster paint or some acrylic, or even have a little go at oil. So enjoy yourselves and enjoy painting.